What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. I am Dr. Mike Axler, professor of exercise science, 60 plus time marathoner and ultramarathoner, PhD in applied human physiology, and performance coach. And today we are going to be talking about strength training for runners, why a lot of runners bypass strength training, why they think they don't need to do it, and then why I'm going to try and convince you, if you don't already do it, why you should do it. I have tons of clients right now whom are near and dear to my heart, who are phenomenal half, full marathoners as well as ultra marathoners. And the most successful ones in the ways of not getting injured and actually finishing very fast race times over and over and over again throughout a nice calendar year are the ones who strength train. They're the ones who are in the gym doing functional movements. Maybe they're leg pressing, squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing consistently, doing core workouts. All of them seem to be doing the best and the most successful. And the ones who are not seem to be dealing with injuries and burnout and little pain here and there. So let's dive into today's episode and talk about why runners should strength train, and we'll discuss 3 of my top movements for my athletes to do. First, let's talk about why every runner needs to lift. And the very first one is going to be reducing the risk of injury. A lot of runners, because of the repetitive nature of this sport of running, biking, swimming, any sort of like endurance sport, but especially running, you're just doing the same thing again and again and again. And that very repetitive nature is going to cause some sort of injury over time unless you really learn to just work around that. So anything from plantar fasciitis to runner's knee, shin splints, Achilles tendonitis, some sort of inflammation with the soft tissue, with the bones, with the joints, huge issues for runners. However, lifting weights can help to build strong bones, strong muscles, and strong connective tissues to basically distribute the force out evenly as you're pounding the pavement again and again and again, so you will not get injured. Further, running helps to improve running economy and efficiency. So learning to be a better economically advantageous runner, a more efficient runner, so you're not using up too many calories while you're running. This helps you go further and faster. Next, why lifting is important for runners is to build strong connective tissue. Thinking about our tendons and our ligaments and a lot of that strong fascia which holds together a lot of our joints and our muscles, we need those connective tissues to be nice and strong and not inflamed. And inflammation is called tendonitis if it's in the tendon. And if we lift weights, we can really mitigate those issues because we build up nice tensile strength within the tendons. And lastly, why every runner needs to lift weights is just to maintain muscle mass with age. And we discussed that in a previous video, that as we age, we gradually decrease the amount of muscle mass we have due to sarcopenia, inactivity, hormonal shifts, things like that. And especially with runners who are just running and running and running, and they have an increased cardiovascular function, so increases in left ventricular pumping ability called stroke volume. What ends up happening is that their heart rate drops considerably at rest. And, a lot of runners will say like, oh, my resting heart rate's 30 or 40 or 50, but they end up burning fewer calories throughout the day because it's easier to stay alive, so to speak. You're burning fewer calories at rest. However, if you maintain that muscle mass or even add to the muscle mass, you can keep your calories high throughout the day and really protect your metabolic rate. Alrighty, hopefully I've sufficiently sold you on why it's important for runners to strength train. Now let's talk about some of the common issues that runners get wrong. And I think a lot of runners are very type A. They want to race around the clock. They want to get faster. They want to be more agile. They want to race around the clock and just be more efficient with their lives, very type A people. However, I think a lot of runners get wrong not strength training is a part of what they do because they're afraid of getting bulky and they're afraid of slowing down. But remember, as we said, having stronger and more efficient muscles is going to increase the amount of propulsive forces that you can push yourself off the ground which is going to equate to faster running splits. Next, a lot of runners only like to do high reps and body weight circuits. So they think that doing body weight squats, body weight lunges, planks, push-ups is going to be sufficient. And while those aren't bad per se, that's not really going to increase muscular strength and muscular size, which we will need in order to get faster for the long term and also just be healthier and not get injured. Further, a lot of runners ignore posterior chain exercises, really targeting the glutes, the hamstrings, the lumbar spine, the spinal erectors, the multifidi, a lot of those posterior chain muscles, which are going to help propel us forwards. That's what's going to make you a stronger and more efficient runner. And we really, really, really need to focus on our glutes, our hamstrings, our calves, our erector spinae, and we'll talk about those. Further, a lot of runners get this wrong. They lift inconsistently and with poor form. A lot of people think that just getting into the gym just checks a box, but you need to go into the gym and check a box efficiently. You can't go in there and just start throwing around the weights and think you're going to do something. It's like, no, you have to go with good, solid technique on each and every rep, each and every set, each and every day. So having good, solid, healthy form is going to be incredibly important. And the last thing that runners typically get wrong is not progressing with load and not focusing on compound lifts. So not doing overhead presses, bench presses, leg presses, squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts. We can just keep going down the list. And as we had said before, a lot of runners like to do just body weight circuits, maybe at home to save time. You need to progressively overload and lift more and more and more weights at just heavier weights. You don't even have to go more than twice a week. Just lift heavier weights. So you're constantly getting stronger and constantly becoming more efficient. So you're constantly getting faster. You see how this works. A stronger runner is a better runner. Alrighty, so let's get on to our 3 main exercises. These aren't going to be the only exercises. They're just going to be my top 3 that maybe you can start with right this second. Number 1 is any sort of hinge exercise. So we're going to talk about deadlifts. And deadlifts are going to target whatever you think it is, the glutes, the hamstrings, the lower back. So those posterior chain muscles in order to propel you forwards nice and strong. But deadlifts are also going to be kind of a full body exercise. They're also going to target your forearms, your core, your upper back, your biceps in more of an isometric contraction. So it's basically a full body exercise, which is why you only need 2 to 3 heavy sets and you are good to go for basically the week with deadlifts because they're so taxing. These are really going to be awesome because there's tons of variations. You can start out with body weight. You can start out with kettlebells, the trap or hex bar, the Romanian deadlift, the Smith machine, a regular barbell. I mean, tons of different barbell variations. You can go with the cable. So deadlifts are going to be awesome as long as you're hinging at the waist, keeping a nice and strong core, and you're really, really pushing up and out through the glutes and the hamstrings. Deadlifts are awesome. The big tip I can tell you with deadlift variation is to focus on form over load. You can get injured pretty easily with deadlifts if you overload too quickly, but since this is a functional movement and a foundational movement, you shouldn't bypass doing these. Our second movement is going to be the Bulgarian split squat. I'm smiling because these are a killer. They're awesome for your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, a lot of the stability muscles like your adductors and abductors, of course the biceps and the forearms for isometric contractions, and of course the core muscles. So amazing. And the reason why I'm putting Bulgarian split squats as number 2 is because they're going to mimic the single leg nature of running. This is really going to help balance you out. If you've ever seen a runner along a course, whether it's a 5K, 10K, marathon, ultra, whatever, and you see someone kind of bending over and they have really, really poor posture, yeah, they could have weak core muscles, they could have scoliosis, a little bit of kyphosis, depending on how old they are, but this is going to fix a lot of the imbalances by doing that single leg work and really learning to just drive right through the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, and the core muscles. So amazing. And again, with the Bulgarian split squat, just like with the deadlift, you can do body weight, you can do dumbbells, you can do a barbell overhead, and you can even do tempo reps, making sure to be explosive with it. But that's going to be more of an advanced movement on the Bulgarian split squat. But number 2, don't miss out on your Bulgarian split squats. And number 3, which is similar to Bulgarian split squats, are going to be step ups. And similarly, we are going to work out the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, the calves, the core muscles, the erector spinae. Phenomenal movement. And this is really going to train explosive strength as well as your stride mechanics. If you're learning to place that foot down right on a box or on a bench and exploding up nice and balanced and slowly coming on back down again and exploding up and slowly coming on back down again, that's going to really help with our balance and our stability, which is going to help keep us up nice and right during those long runs and those long races. Further, we can have different variations such as body weight. We can do it weighted with like a kettlebell right here or a medicine ball right here or dumbbells in hand. There's so many ways that you can do step ups. And a last tip on step ups is to use a box that is around the height of your knee, so around like 90 degrees, so you're stepping up nice and evenly. You're not stepping up too high, not stepping up too low. Alrighty, so how to add these into your weekly training program? Again, if you're an endurance athlete who's really looking to build the volume, you do a nice hearty mix of easy runs, of interval runs, progression runs, tempo runs. You have enough on your plate there, but please make sure to get into the gym and strength train at least twice a week. Maybe build up to 3 times a week depending on your goal, but twice a week should be minimum for the rest of your life because you need to be strong and healthy. Focus on the full body compound lifts, as we talked about, the pushes, the presses, the hinge movements. Every lower body exercise is going to be awesome, and you can add in some accessory work along the way. If you want to do a little bit of biceps, triceps, shoulders, a little bit of the abduction, adduction, that's all up to you. But if you just go into the gym and you just do these 3 movements that we talked about today, the deadlift, Bulgarian split squat, and the step ups, that's already half the battle. That's awesome. Further on this, make sure that when you're doing your lifting, separate that apart from your running. So only lift on the easy days and not on the hard days. So if you're going to do an easy run, you can probably lift later on in the afternoon. But if you're going to be doing an interval workout, a tempo workout, a progression run, or a long run, don't lift on that same day of the week. And obviously, if your goal is to run a fast time in a 5K, 10K, half, full, ultra, whatever, make sure that you're prioritizing your endurance training. You're not prioritizing your lifting. The lifting should come supplementary to all of your running. Awesome. With that today, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I always enjoy talking about running. I do it all the time, and I would like you to do it too, because there's so many wonderful benefits in addition to just being healthy, just being social and conquering different goals. It's amazing. If you did like the video, please make sure to like and subscribe and share it with a friend who might need to hear it, as well as scrolling down and subscribing to both my Substack as well as my Instagram, so you will not miss out on any of the in-depth science topics such as strength training, running, nutrition, exercise science, all the good stuff. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and I'll check you all in the next episode.